great passion for wine, as I think all of our speakers do, and did a lengthy search to find the perfect piece of land to create a winery. They found a beautiful piece of land called Black Hawk, 56 acres. It was the largest apricot orchard in the British Commonwealth. And they, with a lot of love and labor, have turned that into Painted Rock. John is a part of the Okanagan Wine Initiative, as is Tony, and I think I saw Ezra here. Summerhill is also a part of that group. And he's really been taking a lead on working to build international markets, along with Mission Hill, around the world, working to move wine lists from listing just one Okanagan wine to listing us as a region. He's also very engaged in working on building a Wine Excellence Institute, and he'll mention a little bit about that. So with that, John, why don't you come on up?
Well, welcome everybody, and thank you, Camille. That's very kind of you. It's wonderful being here and being with my friends. We work so closely together. My background in the investment banking business was, I had a good career. I retired in '97 the first time. And can you hear me? Sorry, I wasn't talking to this. I retired in '97 the first time, and I bumped around for a couple of years, at which time my wife looked at me one time, and it was probably in about 2000, and she said, "You better find something to do or we're not going to make it." And she was very, very sincere in that. Like I was playing a lot of golf, getting in a lot of trouble. I had a lot of energy. I was 39 when I'd retired, and I'd been a wine guy, and I was not proud of what we had done in the Okanagan. But I had the real seminal experience for me was in 1991. My wife and kids and I rented a place down in Osoyoos, and I asked a neighbor what this big development was going on Black Sage Road, and they said it's Burrowing Owl, and they told me about the vinifera program and how the government was paying to pull out hybrids and plant vinifera and how they're going to try to improve the industry. And I remember as a joke, I came back, I was part of a wine club in West Vancouver. I told the guys there, I said, if the wines coming out of this Burrowing Owl place are any good, maybe I'll get in. And so we'd been in Europe for the summer in the year 2000. When I got home, there were 2 bottles of wine on my doorstep a couple days after we got home with a note on it saying, "Are you getting in?" And it was Burrowing Owl's 1997 Cab Sauv and Merlot. And I opened them up and said, yes. I phoned my buddy and I said, yeah, I'm getting in. So I ignorantly told my wife, I said, I'm going to go to the Okanagan, I'm going to buy a winery this weekend, which is just... In retrospect, it was so stupid. I hire a realtor. I didn't know who and what to do. But what I immediately recognized was what I didn't know, and that's the biggest advantage I ever brought to this industry, was not coming from it. And in the investment banking business, I did mining underwritings in Colombia and Kazakhstan and all over the world. And amongst my partners and I, what we'd do is we'd always assemble a team of experts and really... we'd be able to quantify the political risk and quantify the, all the variables, and then essentially all we did was handicap risk. And I employed that same methodology to the creation of Painted Rock. I said, first and foremost, some basic assumptions. I wanted to buy the best property in the Okanagan. And it's simply aspirational. If you want to be part of what makes the industry better, the core criteria are terroir and where you're coming from. And that was basic knowledge. So I'd done some research, not a ton, but I realized it was based on the terroir. So I hired a team to vet everything that was for sale or not for sale in the Okanagan. And I ended up getting back into the industry because I was sitting around looking at these things, and we found quite a number of 8 out of 10s and no 10 out of 10s. And it didn't happen until one day I was going to give up. It was 4 years into the journey. I found I'd approached a guy who knew of a property that wasn't on the market. It had this staggering history as this apricot orchard, but had been felled in the late 1980s during the gypsy moth infestation. So the glaring problem with it was there were 800 stumps on the property, and you had a choice. You could come in, and my consultants told me, you get two choices. You can come in and bring in bulldozers and push them all to one end and have a big fire and destroy the property, or you can peel the topsoil back, remove the stump, repair the alluvial silt layer, and put the topsoil back and do that 800 times. And I said, okay, let's do the right way. And he said, because if you do it the first way, you're going to ruin the property. So what that did, it actually bought us the best opportunity imaginable, because it now required us to turn the clock back, and we're not going to plant in May where we originally thought we were going to. Now we're going to plant in a year. So we put a weather station in the middle of the property. We put sensors everywhere. We garnered a very, very deliberate planting strategy that, and then went on to source our varietals, and that's another story, which is a pretty good one. But anyway, I had to bribe the nursery to get the clones that we ended up getting, and which was just fabulous. But lo and behold, that's how I met Alain Sutra. I met Alain Sutra because he's friends of the nursery owner, and Alain came and visited our winery the next year. And Alain has worked, he's coming here every second month now for 13 years, and he is making the Okanagan Valley better. He's now, I introduced him to Tony, he's now working for probably 5 wineries in the Okanagan Valley, and he's making us better. So if I can advance the clock a little bit, because I don't want to talk for too long, but as things progressed, we started to get, one thing I noticed right at the very beginning that was really toxic was there was no place for me to go to get information, to get data. And I thought, okay, where's the industry sharing stuff, and where can we, where can I get some, understand what should be planted where and all these kind of things. So just instinctively, I put together some dinners at the Lakeside Hotel, and I invited winery owners and winemakers and said, just come, and if I'd be honored if you'd come and share some information. Let's get a round table with, we had 50 or 60 people, and I had Valerie Tate there, and Sanka Tannant, and some real stellar industry people. And lo and behold, after we did this a few times, and Sanka came to me one time after, and she said, you do realize that 50% of the information you've been given has been wrong. It's been intentionally wrong. What was happening in the Okanagan when I first got in was the industry was it was all about farm gate, and you were selling from your farm gate, and your neighbor was your competitor. And there wasn't this collectivization of aspirational, it wasn't let's get the Okanagan out there, it was let's get that sale before the other guy gets the sale. And it was navel gazing. And it was very obvious to me. I was very happy when we got in, we got the wheels turning. I started to meet people that were like-minded in the industry. Tony Holler is a very dear friend. We started to do things. 2 of us jumped on a plane and went to China. I ended up getting a contract. They bought 40% of my production for 3 years. It was like, at the time, it was like 2,500 cases of crack. It made things pencil. And again, I'm a business guy, and everything that we did had to make sense. But I probably spent money where I shouldn't have and made some mistakes, but I don't have any regrets, because I was given very, very good advice. And now what we've found in the industry is you find like-minded people like Daryl Brooker and Tony and Ezra, our Okanagan Wine Initiative. We're a team. We're not competing with each other, we're competing with each other. We're getting out on the road and getting that word Okanagan out on the international stage. And we just had a fabulous experience in London. We've been, for 6 years, we've worked on putting together a tasting at Canada House called Canada Calling. And we had the great honor of having Jancis Robinson for dinner. We put together a dinner with Jancis Robinson and Stephen Spurrier and some of the top reviewers in the world. And after that, and the theme of the dinner was Okanagan wineries that work with Alain Sutra. And what happened a week later, Jancis Robinson wrote us up in the Financial Times in London, and the theme and was very complimentary on. It was basically saying, we've come of age. These guys mean business. And it was so incredibly validating of these efforts that we make. Rubber is really hitting the road on the international scene. I was approached recently by one of the biggest buyers in California, and he called me up out of the blue, and he didn't realize that I've sent him 6 emails already trying to pitch him on trying my wines. And he never responded to me. Well, out of the blue, I get a phone call, and he said, my name is Peter Granoff, and I'm such and such. And I said, I know who you are. And he said, somebody just gave me your Cabernet Franc last night, and I've got 2 things to tell you. And I said, what's that? And he said, it's absolutely outstanding, and it's too cheap. It was 45 US and Canada. It's 45 Canadian here, and it's 45 US. That's how my agent is selling it down there. And he said, if this was in California, it'd be $200. I said, okay, wow. Well, he said, so I just went to your agent, and I bought the last 24 cases she has, and now I want to place a serious order. I said, okay, wow, I'm listening. And then he said, you know what, I don't even know of this Okanagan place. I said, okay, take a step back. That's my fault. Because my wines are now in the Montage in Beverly Hills, we're in the Waldorf Astoria, we're in the private club, the Jonathan. I'm down there all the time, and I haven't got in front of this guy. So I took responsibility for that, and I said, I'll tell you what, Peter, instead of placing an order with me right now, I want you to come up here. I'm president of the Okanagan Wine Initiative. We are 8 wineries that are very export-oriented and aspirational. And I want you to, it takes you half a day to get here and a half a day to get home, and I need you for 2 days. But I want you to come up here. We'll host you. And haven't nailed the date down, but he said, if you'll do that for me, I'll bring the 2 other biggest buyers of wine in California with me. And they're going to be, we hope to get them in July, but he's opening a new store. So that couldn't happen. But he's going to be here probably in November, or they are going to be here. And we're going to give them a tour of these 8 wineries. And it isn't about moving product. And that's what I want everybody to understand. I used to export 40% of my wines. I only export 15% now. We're very wine club oriented. We're very domestically faithful. But in order to win a brand, you don't do it by waiting for people to come here. You do it by getting on a plane and meeting Stephen Spurrier, meeting Jancis Robinson. Well, we, as a group, are hosting Stephen Spurrier here on the 26th, 7th, 8th, and 9th of October. He's coming with David McIntyre from the Washington Post. And thanks, Daryl. We're going to be taking him by helicopter to a winery for breakfast, a winery for lunch, and a winery for dinner for the first 2 days. And then the 3rd day, it's going to be one for breakfast, one for lunch. And they're going to speak at the college. So if you haven't got your ticket yet, please do, because this is going to be an opportunity for domestic industry, our community, my staff are all going to be there. And if I were to stand on a stage and basically Stephen said, he got a little stressed about it, and he said, what do you want me to talk about? And he was thinking he was going to have to really prepare something. And I said, Stephen, I want you to talk for like 20 minutes, and David, you talk for 20 minutes, and tell us what are we doing right and what are we doing wrong? Where can we improve? And then this was in London at the time of the Canadian wine event. So Stephen went out into the Okanagan region. He's tasting all these wines, and he said, I've made some observations already. And I said, what do you mean by that? He said, well, you don't oak Pinot Gris. And I said, okay, well, there's an example. If I was to stand on a stage and tell my community that you don't oak Pinot Gris, they'd tell me to bleep off. If you stand on a stage, they'll listen to you.